So in this video today, I want to talk through what to do when a prospect says to you it's too expensive and what that actually means and what to say back. So what most people tend to do is they'll panic and drop the price. And what that means, first of all, is that the price you gave to them, the first number was made up. It seems as you're willing to kind of yield on that and give up at the first sign of trouble. Second of all, you've taught them that if they push you, they'll get what they want. So this isn't just to do with the price. This is to do with the service you're giving them or the support. They know that now if they put some pressure on you and make it uncomfortable, you're likely to buckle and just give them exactly what they want, which is a very bad place to be with a prospect because they'll just push and push and push until they get exactly what they want out of you, and typically they'll result in being an extremely bad client. Third of all, your margin will go. So with that, again, you don't make as much money as you should be doing. And with that, again, your confidence will go because then you're starting to think in your own head, oh, is my service actually worth that? And finally, half the time, they won't even buy anyway. So you'll drop your pants. They just kind of mess around with you to see what they can do. And then they'll be like, all right, cool, I'll go think about it. Then you never hear from them again. The one question that you should be asking when someone says, oh, it's too expensive, just say, oh, compared to what? And not in a defensive manner or anything like that, just inquisitive, like, oh, just compared to what? And then once you say that, don't say, oh, compared to a competitor, or just let them answer the question. Listen to them. 9 times out of 10, they're not comparing you to a competitor. They're just comparing you to what is the price of doing nothing. But typically, doing nothing is one of the most expensive things you can do. But again, you can't handle it and you can't overcome the objection until you actually understand what it is. So I've put here what it could mean, and there's 4 potential options. So first of all, it could be due to what competitor is. They may be shopping around. When I used to sell software, they used to speak with 15, 16 different providers sometimes, and they'd literally just be on the call just trying to find out the price. But in the back of their head, they always knew that they'd just pick whichever one was cheapest because they didn't really care about the features. It was more just about what's the most cost effective, and they may have a cheaper quote. What you do in that regard is just sell on the value and the outcome, not on the price. The last thing you ever want to do, I always recommend this to all of our coaching clients, is never get into a race on the bottom of who's the cheapest, because again, it's just going to come down to absolutely destroying your margin and you're going to get the worst clients possible working with you. Second of all, compared to doing nothing, which is the default option, that's where they are now. So you can then sort of build the gaps to say, well, you're here now. If you're where you are now in 6 to 12 months and nothing's changed, what does that mean? That will then get them to start visualizing in their own head of the cost of inaction and what that will cost for them. Third point, they can't see the value, and that's your fault. That means you've just done a bad pitch, a bad presentation. You haven't fully uncovered their pain points. You haven't pitched back to their pain points. So what you need to do is go back to the outcome which they've told you at the start, if again you've run the discovery properly and what it's worth to them. If you've got to this point of the call and you don't know kind of what their aim is and what the outcome or desired goal for them is, you're kind of in big trouble really, because you can't really claw that back unless you can kind of pull it out the fire, which I would expect you to have like a fair amount of sales experience to be able to do that. You're probably just going to have to write this one off. But when you come into the next call, just make sure you're asking these questions, building the gap, understanding where your prospect's at and where they want to get to. This will make it so much easier for you. And then finally, they generally can't afford it. And what you can do here is a couple options. So you can say, look, we can split this up into a payment plan. So you can pay in 1, 2, 3, 4 installments, whatever it might be. And you can say, we can help you kind of put it into bite-sized chunks. The other thing they can do is make a smaller down payment and pay later, especially in the case of people who are like waiting to get paid and that kind of stuff. Or alternatively, if they're like, look, I just need a discount, I can't do it at this price. It's kind of the ball's in your court in that regard, but typically I'd advise just being like, look, I can't do this. One of the things we will say to a lot of our prospects is like, ethically, when our other clients have paid this price, I can't give it you for cheaper because it's not fair. Not fair to them. But again, that's kind of your call depending on how much you actually need the money. But I would always tend to avoid discounting on price. The one thing you can do though, in terms of the rule, is you can just flex on the terms instead, so never on the number. So again, payment plan, splitting it into payments, you can actually take stuff out of the offer. So if they say, oh, the price is $1,500 and they want to pay $1,000, be like, oh, okay, cool. So I can make this $1,000, but to do that, what I would do is take out the support or an extra call or something like that, which makes the package less valuable, which then aligns with a cheaper price. And again, you can always start smaller with this too, and don't just knock off money just because they've asked. Again, go through that whole process, and worst case, just try to take things out of the package to make it more affordable for them. If they say, well, I only want that, it's like, okay, no problem. Well, that the price is the price. I can split it up for you. If they still don't want to play ball with that, I'd probably just sack them off, because they're not going to be great to work with if they're going to be quite challenging and not willing to work with you on that, unless they just get exactly what they want, because they're just highlighting to you what they're going to be like as a client too. So yeah, just to recap, compared to what, and then when they say whatever it is, be like, cool, completely fair, out of interest, is the money there, not there right now, or you're not sure it's worth it yet? And then once you get that answer, you can then determine, well, what would it be worth it to you if it did work. But if you want more in-depth answers on this and you want to go through it in more detail, jump into our free Skool community called the Closing Clinic on Skool. But yeah, hope this was helpful, and yeah, any questions, drop them in the comments.